Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining for our coffee conversations here at Forge Breast Cancer Survivor Center. We are so excited today. We're going to be talking with Kathy King from OASIS, a licensed clinical independent social worker, about care transitioning from caregiver to care receiver after a breast cancer diagnosis. We're so excited to talk about this because it is something that matters. It is something that needs to be thought about and talked about because it can be quite difficult to transition in that role. So we just kind of want to lay that out and kind of just discuss ways that one can transition through these things in a healthy way. So getting started, Kathy, tell us about yourself, the work you do, and things of that nature.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me here today and having this opportunity to talk with you guys this morning. And I really appreciate that. So as mentioned, I am a counselor in the adult program at OASIS Counseling for Women and Children. And so a little bit about me is I am a clinical social worker. We moved to Birmingham, my husband and I, in 2015. So we've been here a little bit, kind of getting used to it and acclimated. I enjoy working, doing the work that I do. I feel like it's just a really honor to get to work with the folks that I do. So I really appreciate that. But I also recognize the value in recharging and self-care for myself. And so you'll hear me talk about that today because I do place a high value on that. And so what I like to do is I like to get outdoors and go hiking or camping or gardening and hanging out with my husband and my dog. I'm also a sister. I'm a mom of 2 adult children. I'll be a grandma in the winter in November, so we're excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So that's just a little bit about me, and I'm just happy to have this time to talk with you today.
Well, thank you so much for coming and getting right into it. So when you think of a caregiver transitioning in life, and when you think of somebody that plays a particular role, what makes it difficult for somebody to transition to something else? Like transferring from, I'm the caregiver to the care receiver. Like, what makes that difficult? Why are life situations making those transitions more difficult, and from your perspective?
Yeah, so I think the bottom line is that change is hard, right? And so when we talk about life transitions and we talk about life roles, what we're kind of talking about is the unknown. We don't really know what things are like until we're in them and we're doing them. And so I think there is that discomfort, which is completely normal to feel when you are transitioning from a person that is in one role into another one. And then, of course, when you're talking about going from being a caregiver to the role of being a care receiver, then something's happened in there. There's been some life circumstance that has caused that change in your life. And most probably you are adjusting to a new normal, and underneath all of that is also a lot of loss. So I think it's just an awareness that is difficult for everyone.
Yeah. And I like that you point out the unknown, because a lot of fear is unknown. You're not necessarily scared of something you know about all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, we tend to, in our heads, make a plan or figure out what these unknown things are. And maybe we're spot on, but frequently we're not. And so, but I think that's again, I think that's behavior that we all do.
Yeah.
Unknown is pretty spooky.
Yeah. I mean, it is, because you think about, if you're interviewing for a job, you really want the job, but and you have a fear of like, how is this interview going to go? Like, you have the qualifications, and that you've done well, but the fear of not knowing if it's enough, a lot of that is is the unknown. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I think that's important to recognize,
Yeah.
like you don't know how you're going to feel in this new role in your life.
Right, right. And if you get like a diagnosis of an illness, then you really don't know what that holds for you.
Hmm.
You know, you haven't walked that path. You don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And so kind of going into role changes as it relates specifically to breast cancer patients, can you identify for us, what necessarily is care identity? Is there a difference between care identity and roles? And then also, what are the effects that it can have on a breast cancer patient kind of going through this transition as they're going through their active treatment?
So, what I think of this is I think of identity pre diagnosis and I think of identity after diagnosis and then involved in treatment. So, pre diagnosis, your identity most probably is a person who is active, involved in life. You know, you could be a mom, you could be a social worker, you could be employed, you could be any walk of life. You could be a daughter, you could be a caregiver to a family member. There's a lots of things you've got going on, and odds are you probably see yourself as a person very capable and strong and engaged in life.
Mhm.
And so then I think that a diagnosis comes along, sometimes out of the blue, probably more frequently,
Yeah.
yes.
Hmm.
Um, and so you're slammed with a lot of information to wrap your head around, and your identity is changing, and
Hmm.
you are going from a person that could be helping someone out
Hmm.
to a person that's most probably going to need some help,
Hmm.
and just wrapping your head around that is a lot. And when we have a lot of information that we're being flooded with and we're trying to understand, like medications, treatments, just identifying information, you know, our brains are not processing that
Yeah.
information well when we're overwhelmed and stressed. And
Hmm.
so it's important to recognize that also. So as I think a person navigates that and they're engaged in treatment, um, that idea of becoming a care receiver
Hmm.
is one that, societally we kind of see asking for help as a sign of weakness.
Hmm.
And so that plays a part in there too. The identity is then from like a strong, engaged person to, I've got to ask for help. Is there
Hmm.
something wrong with me? And
Hmm.
and and how is that going to impact the people that I love?
And the guilt, right? Like the guilt of having to lean on, like now I'm already sick and you're having to deal with that and what that might look like. But now, like, I'm guilty because I need you to help me with doctor's appointments. I need you to help me with medication. I need you to help me with so many other different things. So there's a guilt to
Oh,
it.
listen, I can tell you that, and it's not just with breast cancer, but I think it's with illness or it's when we need help. I hear professionally and personally, like, I don't want to be a burden on the people
Hmm.
that I love. I
Hmm.
don't want to put them out. I know their plates are full. And it's that lens of, I don't want to do that to someone else.
Hmm.
And burden is really a word that I hear a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, unfortunately, because it's harder to ask for help than it is to receive.
Yes.
Just letting people in, letting people help you. When you're thinking in your mind, like, I could do this by myself. I used to be able to do this by
And what's wrong
myself.
with me that I need help?
Exactly. Like, am I
Yeah.
weak? Am I just asking too much? Am I not applying myself enough? Especially when that part of life comes in where you're comparing your journey to other people's. Well, like, will they work through their diagnosis?
Oh,
Or,
yeah.
they didn't ask anybody for help. So just that guilt and, that's that self-reflection that comes with, I don't really want to ask anybody for help.
So I'm glad we're talking about guilt because I think that is significant. And I've been reading this book lately, Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. And she is a social worker, a
Hmm.
shame researcher. She's got like a series on HBO. But this Atlas of the Heart book is really trying to define emotion. And so I
Mhm.
was looking up guilt, and I want to read to you guys like what Brene Brown kind of defines guilt. So she said, guilt is an emotion that we experience when we fall short of our own expectations or standards. However, with guilt, our focus is on having done something wrong and on doing something to set things right, like apologizing or changing a behavior. So if you think about that with this lens that she presents us with, what has a person who has gotten breast cancer done wrong?
Right.
What do they have to apologize for? Nothing,
Mhm.
nothing.
Right.
And so my vote is free yourself from guilt.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's generally not helping you.
Mhm.
You don't have anything to apologize for.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my take on guilt.
Yeah.
Powerful emotion, but I think we need to really kind of look at it and shine a light on it and say, you know, does this really in truth fit?
Yeah. Because I mean, it is reality, unfortunately, and nobody ever deserves breast cancer or any cancer or
Right,
illness at all, right? And so, the reality is that it's here though. And you shouldn't apologize for that. You didn't ask for it. Apologizing for something is like a mistake that you've made. You've made no
you've
mistake
made no
to
mistake.
get this illness. So, that is a huge block to get over because you feel guilt. Like, I don't want to make you do more. I don't want you to
Right.
feel like I'm asking too much of you because you're already having to see me feel this way and be there at these doctor's appointments. So, I love that you brought that quote, and I love that there's a resource out there that is looking more so into just the aspect of guilt, and how it is applicable to situations in life.
Yeah, and I think that it's important for us to do self-talk.
Hmm.
And when we are aware of our thoughts going south with guilt, to check them and to
Hmm.
be like, okay, well, let me think about that again,
Yeah.
because I do have a right to have, people care for me. I am enough,
Hmm.
and I can accept this.
Yes, and accepting it doesn't make me weak.
Makes you strong.
It makes you stronger to be able to say, my
Right.
pride is not bigger than my need, and I have needs, I have care that I need, and it's okay to ask for those things and to receive it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I think that that strength also comes in connection,
Hmm.
you know, um, because we are not islands. We need each other.
Hmm.
And so when we allow ourselves that vulnerability to open up and to ask for what we need, it's courageous. It's probably
Hmm.
scary as everything, but it's the avenue for us, relationship building, getting our needs met, moving through this journey that you're
Yeah.
on.
And like in coming off of guilt, but vulnerability is a strong emotion too. You know,
Oh, yes, it is.
that
And
is
that was, I have another,
that's
but,
a strong one.
so yes, and so Brene Brown is all about vulnerability. Yes, yes. And so I'll spare you for my long quote, although I can bring it because I do love her. She's great at
Mhm.
identifying that. But, I think that what she talks about and then what we know is that vulnerability is another one, sort of like the burden thing. Societally we think that if we're vulnerable, then that's a sign of weakness and there's something wrong with us. But if you think about it, that's really an act of huge courage,
Mhm.
because it's when you do open yourself up. And in this case, what we're talking about, it's like when you're asking for help, and it could be anything from just needing somebody to listen to you and to validate where you're at, to needing some help taking, your child to soccer practice for the season
Mhm.
or something. But when you do that, you make yourself vulnerable because you're asking for help. And then you have, through that interaction, the opportunity to connect with people in your life and
Mhm.
to feel that support and to grow through that. And
Mhm.
so to me, courage and vulnerability are like buddies. They're side
Mhm.
by side.
Yeah. It's just sometimes it's difficult to get through those.
Oh, I'm not
Oh,
saying
yeah.
it's easy.
Oh, I know you're not saying it's easy, but
Right.
being vulnerable, being open to people
Mhm.
about what you're going through, what you're feeling, especially what your needs are. I know we've done some coffee conversations previously about finances and how vulnerable people are with that. And with breast
Mhm.
cancer, it's an expensive diagnosis, like the chemo treatments, the co-pays, the medications.
Yeah.
Some people are underinsured, some people aren't insured. So even being vulnerable about those kinds of needs to kind of help you get through this in the best way possible.
Mhm.
Like that transition is hard because with transitioning from the person who is always there for you, who
Mhm.
is always taking the people where they need to go and making sure the meals are good and school clothes are ready and, all of these other different things, to being the person that, hey, I'm open and these are my needs. This is what I'm going through.
Mhm.
What are some other emotions aside from guilt and vulnerability that somebody might experience as they're making this transition throughout their diagnosis?
So I think there's an array of emotions, right? Because this is a diagnosis that impacts every part of your life.
Hmm.
And you just identified financial,
Hmm.
which is huge and real,
Hmm.
and creates worry. So I think that, frustration, worry, anxiety, probably right off the bat, shock,
Hmm.
sadness,
Hmm.
all of those, and
Hmm.
and probably a plethora of ones I haven't named,
Hmm.
just probably emotional roller coaster also at times, like some days feeling, incredible anxiety, and other days feeling more in control,
Hmm. Yeah.
so I think that there is just just a lot of things.
And accepting those things too, right? Like all of those emotions are normal, especially going through such an uncomfortable transition, especially if you're, a person, even at work, at the workplace, you're the person everybody goes to now, like, you need space, you need time to process. But I feel like it kind of just loops back into that guilt and that vulnerability. All of these emotions kind of loop through that and in this transition because now I feel guilty because I can't be what you need me to be.
And so that's when the self-talk needs to come in, and the
Mhm.
self-talk needs to kick in on facts,
Mhm.
not on fears.
Yes.
And it is, I didn't ask for this to happen,
Mhm.
but this is going on in my body.
Mhm.
I am me, but this is going on in my body. And so I need to ask, I need to navigate this road of employment or of taking care of my family, or if I
Mhm.
have been taking care of my mom and being a
Mhm.
caregiver to her, I have to now navigate how I can have someone else step in and do that.
Mhm.
And, a person may have people in their lives that just step up to the plate and say, woohoo, I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
And then it's a matter of being able to accept that.
Mhm.
But certainly for a lot of people, also, it's having to ask, and
Mhm.
it's having to go to your employer and say, this is what's going on with me. And this is what I think is going to happen with treatment. And I need this much time, or I need to be able to work from home. It's
Mhm.
being able to figure out really what you need and
Mhm.
then be able to ask for that
Uh-huh.
and do that with an understanding of your right to ask for your needs and
Mhm.
to be clear and to be specific.
Mhm. And that you're not a burden, and that you're not weak, and that you're not needy. This is just what you're dealing with in life, and especially when you have that really good support system that all they want to do is support you, is realizing that it's okay for me to need the people that love me. You know.
Yeah, and we humans, we need each other,
Mhm.
and um we are like hardwired for connection. And
Mhm.
so I think that realizing that and really pushing to allow yourself to let people in and to help you
Yes.
is huge. It doesn't change who you are.
Right. Mhm.
You are the person that I have cared about for forever.
Hmm.
That because you now are going through treatment, that's not going to change,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
feeling.
Hmm.
And so I think that's the kind of self-talk that's important to remind yourself of.
Yes, reminders, self-talk, very strong. It's a very strong thing to, it is a muscle you have to work. It's a muscle because, oftentimes our mind can go to a very negative space quicker than we can a positive space, especially when we're thinking about ourselves or mistakes that we've made or things that we're doing or things in our life that aren't going right. Um, Self-talk can be a good muscle to work. And this might be the best opportunity for you to start realizing that I need to work on my positive self-talk.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes people, think I'm nuts, which could very well be, but I often say, put sticky notes up around your house, like put it in front of your makeup mirror, put it in front of where you brush your teeth, put it on your refrigerator, and put some positive affirmations on that.
Mhm.
Because we do need to train our brains to kick into that. We are, bodies that have been prepared forever for, preservation and stuff. And so I think that is why we go to that negative thought sometimes.
Mhm.
And so we kind of have to do remind ourselves of what we want ourselves to know. And we want to feed ourselves with good stuff, with positive messages.
Yes.
It's really important.
Mhm.
And you know, I love I am enough. I love I can. Just simple things that we can tell ourselves. And I think we can, practice some like mantras with simple little relaxation breaths of
Mhm.
breathing in and then slowly exhaling and
Mhm.
giving ourselves a positive affirmation. And no one needs to know you're doing that, right?
Right.
You can we can do it right now while we're talking and we don't have to tell each other, but
Mhm.
that's kind of what we want to do to take care of ourselves.
Yes. So, and I know we've dropped a bunch of different things that somebody can do to kind of navigate through these things. So, positive self-talk, positive affirmations, vulnerability with those around you who want to help. If somebody's asking you, "What do you need?" It's okay to tell them what you need. It doesn't mean that you're being a burden. They're asking you because they want to be there for you, and this is just part of that transition. And it's okay to go through that transition. Um, it's just life right now.
And it's necessary to go
Mhm.
through that transition, because this is happening in your body, right? It's not
Mhm.
like you can stall it. This is
Mhm.
happening. And so it's important to just go with that flow of life
Mhm.
and respond as best that you can. And if you do need to ask for help, some things to think about are be specific. Really think about what you need when you're asked or before you ask,
Mhm.
and realize it might be a couple of people you have to ask for help because one person might not do it,
Mhm.
or not that they might not do it, they might not have capacity to do or help you in the way that you need.
Mhm.
So give yourself permission just to do that. Give yourself permission to be vulnerable.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kathy. Any other final thoughts that you'd like to leave with our coffee conversation today? I know we've said a lot, but anything that you think we missed?
No, I don't think we missed anything. I think support is just key,
Mm.
with everything that we go through in life, and with something that knocks the wind out of you, like a diagnosis with cancer, that I think we need support that much more. And
Mhm.
I mentioned that I think as humans, we're hardwired for connectivity. I do believe that. And I do believe that there is nothing like talking with someone who has had a similar lived experience. There's a lot of power in that. So, what I would say to anyone that is going through this is connect with others. I think that Forge is just such a huge resource to the
Yeah.
community. The opportunities that you guys offer for connection through support groups, through activities, I mean, that is so valuable. So I would say to folks, take advantage of this because this is healing, right?
Mhm.
It's healing when we get that validation from others.
Mhm.
And then practice self care and self compassion. You know, recognize your value, recognize you are enough, and every day find something that brings you joy. Every day find something that lights you up, and it doesn't have to be big. It just might be you found the perfect strawberry in your bag of strawberries that you bought today that's delicious, and enjoy that. So
Yeah,
I think it's little things that join together to make big things.
I love that self-compassion. We're so much more compassionate to others that are going through
Yes.
something, that when we're going through something, it's just like, I can get through this. This is fine. I
I
don't need
got
any
this.
help. I'm good. We don't give ourselves the grace and allow ourselves to need other people and be okay with it. We'll know we need help, but
Right.
we may not be okay with it. So even just being okay um, through it all and patient with yourself. And like you're saying, lean on somebody who's been through something similar who can kind of help talk you through these things.
Yes.
Like, yes, I was taking care of my mother, and then now I needed the care. And this is kind of how I got through it. And this is what helped
Right.
me.
Right.
So,
And they
yeah.
can help you, help you find the words.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy. It's my
Oh my
pleasure.
gosh, it's been a treat. Thank you.
Thank you.